What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for some more content for you guys, but more importantly, some more tier lists for you guys, as we're going to be ranking the Tottenham Hotspur squad, seeing as the squad officially got announced today. And yes, Dyer and Lloris are still in the squad, and they have been named probably for the last time at the start of the season. So
wouldn't count your chickens just yet. Yeah. Wouldn't get too excited.
Well, new contracts in the offing.
You never know. Look, football's a strange sport. Maybe Vicario gets ruled out for the season, Lloris gets drafted in, and all of a sudden he has a worldie. You never know.
Yeah,
you never know in football. It can be very weird.
Would you put your money on it?
I wouldn't put my money on any of that happening. No.
All right, well, let's get into it. If you look at the tiers, we're going for the old Football Manager style. So key player to first team, to rotation, to backup, to not needed.
So we're thinking, if you were to give these players a contract to Football Manager, what kind of contract are you giving them?
Exactly. And first and foremost, we're going to start off with big Fraser Forster. I don't think he goes into key player. He doesn't go into first team. He doesn't go into rotation. With Lloris around, he either goes into backup or not needed. What are you thinking?
I think backup. I do think he's going to stay ahead of Lloris. I think it's an uncomfortable situation that Lloris is still here. I still expect Forster. I think Forster went into this season as the backup keeper, and just because Lloris couldn't find a club, I don't think that changes. And it doesn't change in the short term. You never know. Maybe in a few months' time, if Lloris is proving himself in training and Ange thinks, look, I'm better off having Lloris on the bench, maybe that happens. But I think for now, definitely Forster's ahead of him. But he goes into backup because I think Vicario is going to play pretty much every game.
Who's the better keeper, Forster or Lloris?
I think Lloris, personally, but I think Lloris is still better than Forster, even based on last season. But last season, Forster had a decent end to the season, I guess, when he came in. But I still wasn't that impressed with him. Lloris, look, did make a lot of errors last season, but I still think there's half a decent keeper in there. So
yeah, it's strange why no one wants to take the plunge on Lloris.
To be fair, you say that, but same issue with De Gea. Same issue of like Handanovic as well. No one wants to touch them. So it's a theme. It's not just Hugo.
So, I mean, if you think Lloris is the better keeper than Forster, then why would we not put Lloris in the backup?
Because Forster's going to be the backup.
But surely we should just choose the best keeper to be the backup.
Well, I'm choosing what I think is going to be the case. I think Forster's going to be the backup. I don't think Lloris is going to be involved in any squads in the short term anyway.
It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see because obviously we've never, had a squad where Lloris has been available. He's always kind of been exploring other opportunities, and now he's here, which looks like he's going to be here till at least January. I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty caught in two minds between the two, who's going to be ahead of the other. Seeing as Forster did start the season as our backup, then I'm sure we just got to go for him for now and see what happens, I guess. So Fraser Forster, you are going into backup. Next up is Rodrigo Bentancur. This is interesting because I think probably this time last year would have been saying key player. With him, with his injuries, with the rise of Pape Matar Sarr, does he drop down to first team?
I would say probably yes, because the midfielders have stepped up really well in his especially Sarr in his absence. You don't want to rush him back this season. So I don't think you want it to be the case where he comes in and then all of a sudden you have to rely on him every game. You want it to be a situation you can ease him back in. And even if he does get to the stage where he's ready to start games, you have to also be very mindful of a very serious injury he's had. So even if the workload gets too much, you have to be able to take him out of the team if the workload's too much. So I do expect him to be first choice once he's back fit, to be honest. But I think this season, I can't expect him to be a key player.
Yeah, I mean, does that even drop him down to rotation then?
Potentially. I think this season he's going to be a rotation, to be honest. I think Sarr's going to start a lot of games. I think come January, you might see Bentancur be ready to start multiple games in a row, like put a string of starts together. But I think before then, he is going to be a rotation.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're looking at the whole season, when it comes down to it by the end of the season, he's probably going to be in that first team option. I think he will be ahead of Sarr probably come after the new year when the AFCON comes around as well. He's going to be needed. And I feel like he's going to grab that chance when Sarr goes to the AFCON and maybe we probably won't look back after that. So having said that, and judging by his quality and what he's shown in the Spurs shirt already, I think he should go into first team, in my opinion.
I'm happy to put him there.
So Bentancur goes into first team. Next up is Brian Hill. This is an interesting one. I mean, he's not key player. He's not first team.
I don't even think he's rotation. I think he's backup.
Yeah, I'd probably say backup. I'd agree with that. So
because he's got so many players ahead of him on both wings. He's third choice for right and left at the moment.
It's a shame though, because I think like if he does get his chance, that he can grab it, and I think Ange might take a bit of a liking to him. But it's just about getting that chance.
Yeah, that's going to be difficult. He's going to have to rely on injuries because at the moment he's got Solomon and Perisic and Son ahead of him on the left. He's got Johnson and Kulusevski ahead of him on the right. So he's going to have to just wait, be very, very patient. But right now he's a backup.
Yeah. All right. So Brian Hill goes into backup. Next up is Hugo Lloris. I mean, seeing as we put Forster in backup, Lloris just has to go into not needed.
Yeah, not needed. I think we didn't want him here, to be honest. He didn't want to be here. It's very uncomfortable that he's still here. But I think he's not going to be involved for the foreseeable. And potentially we'll look to move him on again in January, I would assume. So I think not needed.
Next up is Ben Davis. I would say backup Ben Davis. I think like you've got Destiny, obviously the left back. He essentially is the backup to Ben Davis, but I think like you're not just gonna. I don't think you're just gonna see Ben Davis like willy-nilly rotated in there with one game a week and only Premier League games. So I think like he is essentially a backup. I don't think he's gonna be like rotated because of his quality.
Yeah. The only thing is he's back up on centre back and he's back up in left back as well. I agree. I think Udogi's got the shirt, and I don't see it being a case. Maybe potentially in December, though, when we got a lot of games, I do expect him to maybe play one or two of them, to be honest. But I think from now till December, if Udogi's fit, I think Udogi plays. I think that's it.
So you happy with backup?
Yeah, backup. Ben
Davis goes into backup. Next up is Vicario. Obviously, he goes into key player, I guess.
Yeah, I think the way we want to play, I think he is key because he's the only keeper we have who is really up with the modern game in terms of ball playing ability, coming out the area as well. So I think he has to be a key player, Vicario. One of the few players who we can't do without.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, the drop in quality from him to the next goalkeeper, I mean, is massive, to 100%. Be honest. Next up is Yves Bissouma. I mean, with the start of the season he's had, there's only one tier for him, and that is key player.
100%. I think he is. I think it goes under the radar how key the way he plays is to the way Tottenham have been playing and our structure as well. I think it's essential that we keep him fit. So for me, he's a key player.
Mickey van der Ven up next. Where are we going for him? Because he is a key player. He is. But if we had like normal squad options and backup centre backs to an adequate standard, he would be first team.
Correct, but we don't. So he's a key player. He's a key player. If we're screwed if we get him injured. For me, if you're very worried about a player getting injured, like they're a key player. If you're happy with them in the first team, but if they get an injury, it's not the worst, then it's first team. That's how I see it.
Okay.
So I think he's a key player.
Next up is Ivan Perisic.
Rotation. I think our first rotation.
You think first rotation? Yeah. I think
because he comes off the bench, he gets minutes. Like he's around the first team. He started the game against Fulham in the League Cup. I think he's probably first port. Well, he was first port of call for the left wing before Solomon had that game against Burnley.
That's what I'm saying.
But I think I think his rotation. I think he's not. I think he's a guy that Postecoglou won't mind just putting into the team at some point.
I kind of agree, but I'm looking at it and thinking like, is he going to start many games just as a rotation option? I'm not sure. I mean, it all depends on how Manor does, to be honest. If Manor keeps playing well like he did in the last game against Burnley, then I would say he's a backup. But if Manor does fluctuate, then it is a rotation option. So I think it's very much reliant on this Manor form.
I'm going to go rotation.
All right, we'll stick with rotation then. So Ivan Perisic goes into rotation. Our first rotation option. Next up is Alfie Whiteman. I mean, he goes straight into not needed.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends who's third choice, but I guess if Lloris is third choice, does a third choice go into backup or not needed?
I think Brandon Austin will be third choice.
All right, so he's definitely not needed then. Whiteman can go into not needed.
All right. Next up is that Ollie Skip? Ollie Skip. Oh, where are we going for Ollie Skip?
I think he's probably rotation. at the moment. I would say because he started against Brentford, didn't he, in the first game? Started against Fulham, but hasn't really played well. But is it a case of Andrew will continue to give him chances?
I think he's back up. And I would say he's back up because I think as soon as Rodrigo Bentancur comes back, he goes down one more in the pecking order. I think there's players like Højbjerg who's ahead of him, Sarr who's ahead of him, and then obviously the other ones like Maddison and Yves Bissouma. You've got so many players ahead of him. And yes, he has had minutes, and yes, he started the first game. But I think as the season progresses, you'll see he'll be a backup option, in my opinion.
Put him in backup then. Sound logic.
All right, Ollie Skip goes into backup. Next up is Manos Solomon.
Now, before the game against Burnley, I think he probably goes into rotation. But now the Burnley game happened, and he obviously on the left, Son started up front. If Son is going to be our main striker, then I guess Solomon does go into first team. If Son's going to be our main striker.
The only problem is like it's only a 1 game sample size.
It is.
That's the only issue I have with it.
We don't really know, and it also depends on Son. Yeah, it just depends on Son, because I think if we're seeing Son as a number 9, Solomon will probably be our first choice left winger for now. But if Son is still going to be seen as a left winger and Richarlison coming in up front, then all of a sudden he becomes a rotation option. So I think
he's rotation.
You putting him in rotation?
I think so. Yeah.
You think Son's still going to be a left winger?
I don't. It's a long season ahead. It's hard to say how things are going to progress. Is Richarlison going to get back to form? Is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? I don't know. There are so many moving parts. But what I think he was brought into the squad to be a rotation option. That's what I think.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay. I'm happy to put him in rotation.
It could shift. Things could shift during the season. Obviously, he's only had 1 start for us in the Premier League out of the 4.
And he did well. Did very well, but yeah, I guess he's rotation.
All right, who do we have up next? Is that Eric Dyer?
Controversial, but I think he has to go in backup.
Backup?
He has to, because we have no centre backs. He's literally our only other senior centre back.
Not needed, man. Absolutely not needed.
We do.
He hasn't even been on the bench yet.
I know, but I think maybe we expect to sell him. Maybe we expected to bring someone in. That didn't happen.
Sanchez has gone now, who has been on the bench.
Yeah,
but. I don't know.
Was the window open when Burnley happened?
Yeah.
It was closed.
It was open, I think.
It was open. That was our last game. So
sorry, it was closed. The next day. It closed that day, the night before. It closed on Friday night, didn't it? We played on the Saturday.
It closed on Friday night and we played on the Saturday. Right. So, okay.
But Sanchez left after that.
Yeah, because that's right, because Brendan couldn't make the squad because he signed on deadline day. I think that you just can't put him in not needed because we have no other centre backs. We just don't have anyone. How can we not need him? We might need him.
I think Ashley Phillips is ahead of him. I think potentially even Emerson and Davis to play out of position might be ahead of him.
I think Andrew will give him a chance, just out of respect for him.
Where's the respect for not even putting him in the matchday squad for the Carabao Cup game? Where was the respect then?
We're trying to get rid of him. We're trying to let him leave, but that didn't happen now. He's still here. The fact that he's still here and he's our only other centre-back option, I think if there's an injury to Romero or Van de Ven, I think there's a chance Dyer might get the opportunity. Or at least, even if Phillips comes in, Dyer goes into on the bench.
So he's the backup of the backup?
Potentially.
Which is not needed.
It is needed, because we might need him. We just might need him. That's
I actually think if Van de Ven gets injured, I think Ben Davis goes there. And
you think Dyer will not play under any circumstances? Pretty
much, yeah. I think we go try and sign another centre-back in January.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm saying from now till January.
I don't think he'll play.
It doesn't matter how many injuries, doesn't matter what happens, doesn't matter how many
unless Romero, Van de Ven, Phillips and Davis all get injured, I don't think he plays.
You think it will take 4 injuries for Dyer to get an opportunity?
Yeah.
I don't agree. I think he'll get an opportunity. If 2 of them are out, I think he'll get an opportunity.
When you say opportunity, you mean like playing or on the bench?
He'll play. I think we're going to have to. We've got no one else.
Well, we're not. Hopefully, we won't even. That's like a very like.
But that's backup.
It's like. It's a big thing to happen. Like all those players to get injured when we've got 1 game a week up until January.
We don't have any centre backs.
Like,
we have Romero. We have
yeah, but
Van
look at
Ven,
all those
we have
other
him.
players in backups. They're more likely to play than Eric Dyer, much more.
Forster, Hill, Davis, and who's the other one?
Can't even see off the top. I can't see it from here. Who's the other one? Skip.
Skip. Yeah, they're probably all more likely.
They're
to play than him.
much higher up in the squad stature than him. Much.
Well, technically yes, but on paper they're not.
Yeah, on paper. Well,
On paper,
we're
they're
saying
not.
Davis is a backup. Dyer is like the backup to the backup to the
On
backup,
paper, he should be our next in line.
but he's
in
not
theory.
because he hasn't
He
even
might
seen
be
a
though. We don't
squad
know.
yet.
He might be though. He might be. Because we haven't seen him yet. Now the dust has settled. He might get reintegrated into the team because he's
we can say the same thing about the goalkeepers that we're going to put in not needed. What if
no, but we have a
Vicario?
backup keeper. We have Forster.
Yeah, and we got Ben Davis, who's also in backup. But like, if
Davis is
Forster,
backup.
if Forster, Vicario get injured, then we're going to have to call on one of these not needed goalkeepers.
But we literally don't have. Like we have Forster, right? We
Yeah.
don't have another centre back.
We do. We've got Ashley Phillips.
18. I don't know if we really.
So why was he on the bench ahead of Eric Dyer at Burnley?
Because we're trying to get rid of Dyer.
But the window was shut.
Yeah, I know, but it was like the day after we tried to move him on. He's had that meeting now with Levy, hasn't he? Like maybe now he'll get reintegrated in the first team and it will start to be the backup.
I don't think so, man.
Might not have a choice.
Yeah,
I don't want it, but
Look at this Eric Dyer lover over here.
Oh, yeah, no, we literally don't an 18-year-old or Dyer.
18-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but even then, he's only one. We only have one backup centre back.
And Ben Davis.
I don't know. I think Dyer might be ahead of Davis as backup centre back. I don't know.
Can we just put him in not needed just for our own sanity?
All right, we'll put him in not needed.
Thank you.
I think he's backup. Sessegnon's not needed.
Ryan Sessegnon up next.
Yeah,
We got Destiny, we got Ben Davis, and we got Ryan Sessegnon. Yeah, he's not needed.
Surplus, and he's still injured, right? Is he
Yeah.
back?
No, he's
still
injured.
He's surplus.
All right, next up is Alejo Veliz.
I don't want to put him in not needed.
Yeah. He's a young player coming in. I mean, we should have had like hot prospects in here.
Yeah, we should have had hot.
He would have been the only one going into it.
Just for him, we'll have a prospect. But yeah, he goes into backup. But he is a backup, I guess.
Well, we were talking about the defenders. He is much more next in line than Eric Dyer for the striker.
Is he?
Kind of.
I don't know.
In terms of natural strikers, we've got
have
Richarlison
Son
and Veliz.
Richarlison. Yeah, but Son's there. We have
Son's
Son,
there.
Richarlison, and then him.
Yeah, which is the same.
No,
It's
that was,
Dyer.
we only play one up front, so we need 2 injuries.
Mm.
We only, in my opinion, it could take 1 injury for Dyer to be back in the team. But anyway,
They'll take 1 injury for Veliz to be understudy
for him to be
striker.
backup, yeah, so he goes back up.
Okay. All right, next up is Brandon Austin. He's also going to not needed.
Yeah, not needed really. Yeah, we're not going to see any of him this season.
Next up, we've got Cuti Romero. I mean, he goes straight into key player, vice captain. He's been essential to us so far. He's been one of the standout players so far in the Premier League. 2 goals already in 4 games from him. Unbelievable stuff. So yeah, straight into key player.
100% key player. Can't do without him. If he gets injured, we are screwed. He's vital. Brilliant start to the season. So yeah.
All right, who have we got next? Emerson Royale. I think rotation.
I think, yeah, rotation. He's probably yeah. Because he'll come in. He'll come in for some games. He's a good option to have as well. Maybe he'll fill in at centre back. Maybe that'll be a case as well. You never know.
That's what I said before.
So maybe, you never know. Well, that's only a rumour right now. There's nothing to substantiate it. It might happen. But I think he's definitely not a backup. I think he's more than a backup.
Yeah, I mean, when you're comparing him to Porro,
yeah,
like,
I can see him just coming in for a game because we need him rather than because Porro's injured.
I can see maybe against the real good attacking teams like the Arsenals and the Man Cities, him potentially starting those games.
Yeah.
Next up is Ashley Phillips.
He's going to have to go in backup.
Yeah, he goes into backup.
He's not a rotation because I don't see him coming in unless there's an injury. So
yeah, exactly.
Has to go in backup.
Richarlison.
I think he goes into first team. I think. Because he's been started every game. He's still...
apart from one, yeah.
Apart from one.
But if Son's going to start as number 9,
yeah,
then surely he's rotation.
If Son's going to start at number 9, then then he would be a rotation. But we put Solomon in rotation. So if we're assuming that is definitely not the case, and I think he goes into first team. I still see him starting a lot of games
with Son on the left.
Yeah, with Son on the left as well. I think he's a first team player. I would say because he's already in terms of strikers, it's only him and Son really, and Son could play out left. So Could
Richarlison ever play out left for us?
He did last season.
No, I'm talking about this season.
No, he hasn't.
No, I know he hasn't. I'm saying, can he? Yeah.
I wouldn't have him in left. I was one of the ones calling for him to play out wide last season, but in this system, I wouldn't have him out left. I don't think he's good enough for that. You need to be a really good one-on-one dribbler for that kind of situation. You need to be more of a creator. He's not that. He's I liked it. He can be like an inside forward. I like him when he plays out wide in that kind of formation, but he needs to be more of a winger in this formation. He's not that. So I wouldn't play him out there. All
right, look, we'll put him in first team.
I think he's
for
first
now.
Team.
Yeah. All right, Richarlison goes into first team. Next up's James Maddison. I mean, straight into key player. He has literally been the definition of a key player for us so far this season. You know what I mean?
He's been unbelievable. What a player James Maddison is. The hub of the team, one of the leaders in the team now. Again, if he gets injured, there's a major worry. So it has to be a key player.
All right, J Mads into key player. Next up is Heung-min Son, obviously the captain of the team, scored a hat-trick last time out. He goes straight into key player.
100%. We need him as well. Like, if you look at our front line, in terms of if you look at the forward line, he's the only one where I'm like, okay, there is like world-class quality there. Everyone else, there's like, not saying they're rubbish, but there's question marks about certain things. But like Son, you know there's world-class ability there. And you say he's our captain, still one of the best finishers in the Premier League. If he did get an injury for a long period of time, I would be worried personally. Yeah. I did a tweet just after the window closed saying 6 players that we can't afford to get injured. And I put Son on that list. And everyone was like clowning me for it. This was before his hat-trick against Burnley. And then after the hat-trick against Burnley, it's like, okay, maybe you're right. So I was like, but how can we forget how good Son is, honestly?
Yeah. People have short memories, very recency bias, because of the season he had last year, playing through injury the whole season, still getting 10 goals. Yeah. The guy's touch of class. Next up is Decky. Where are we putting him?
I think first team.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think first team. Yeah, he still has the shirt. He's playing, I think, for me, it's underrated how good he's playing at the moment. I think he's been all right so far this season. Had a good international break as well. Obviously, Brendan Johnson now there, but I think Decky will still have the shirt for now. But Brendan might break into the team soon.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've been a little bit disappointed with the way he started this season. I don't think he's been great, but I don't think he's been bad or terrible like some people think. I just think he's been okay, to be honest. He hasn't been great. He hasn't been terrible. I think he's been okay.
I think he's been like 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I would probably say about 6 out of 10 when you put all the games together for me. Golden assist, though, out of 4 games. It's a fairly good start to the season. I think apart from Son, he's the one that's contributed the most in the front line. Well, now Manuel's got 2 assists, so they're on the same, to be fair. So, look, I'm happy with Decky either way. Like, I think he's a quality player. I just want him to show it a bit more. So Kulusevski goes into first team. Next up is Brendan Johnson, our new signing. I mean, he's got to probably just go into rotation for now.
Yeah. I don't think he's a backup. I think he will come into the team if and when, whether it be up front, whether it be on the right. I think he'll earn his spot. So but I don't think he's a player who will. I don't envisage him nailing down a spot though this season like Decky has. So I think he's going to be rotation.
All right. Next up is Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. See, this is difficult because I think he's got quality. He's got enough quality to be a rotation player. But I think his status in the squad right now is a backup because you're looking at the players ahead of him. Like Bissouma is most definitely ahead of him. He's a key player. He's not coming out the team unless there's an injury. And in the number 8 positions, I mean, is there anyone that Højbjerg is going to be like rotated in for?
Sarr?
Maybe before Bentancur comes back.
Once Bentancur comes back, he goes into backup. I think he might be a rotation before Bentancur's fully fit.
Yeah.
And then he goes into backup. But he had a great international break, 2 goals in 2 games.
Yeah.
I feel like we just missed. I feel like he shouldn't be playing the 6 for us. I don't understand why Ange is persisting with that. He doesn't seem to be fully comfortable in that position for me.
But that's where Ange sees him at the moment.
Is where Ange sees him. And if he's going to be a 6, he's a backup. If he's going to be an 8, he's a rotation, in my opinion.
I kind of feel like if we do get an injury to anyone in the midfield, then he'll be massive for us.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it could be a case of if we get an injury, he could go 6 and Basuma could go 8 or something like that. That could happen as well.
I would prefer to see Basuma stay in the 6 and him to go 8, to be fair.
I would as well. Yeah. I think rotation.
Like if we've got no injuries from now until January, do you see him getting any starts?
I think so. He'll get a few starts, I reckon.
Even
if we have no injuries.
Okay, so it has to go in rotation. I don't think he will, to be fair.
I think he will.
But I like Pierre, so I'll put him in rotation. Next up is Giovanni Lo Celso.
I think he's back up.
I think the only player he comes in for is Maddison. And I think that Maddison is just playing too well. He's a key player for us. He's a vice captain. He's been central to everything that we're doing. Lo Celso keeps getting injured as well. So, yeah, unfortunately, he probably has to go into backup.
I think in a perfect world, you probably want him as a rotation, just so you can swap out Maddison here and there, like keep him fresh and give someone like Lo Celso, who I think could be a good player when he's fit, like give him time on the pitch as well. But I think at the moment, how things have played out, I think he has to be a backup, especially with him being injured again, and how well Maddison's playing. But I would like to. I think going into the season, I would have thought of him more as a rotation, but right now I'm thinking of him more as a backup.
Because I don't think any of us could have kind of imagined. Like we all thought Maddison was going to be good, but I don't think anyone imagined him to be this good and this important to us so early on, like completely undroppable. So yeah, I would agree backup for Gio. Next up is Big Pape Matar Sarr. Now, he actually has been a key player for us for the first 4 games of the season. I kind of feel like as the season progresses, what he's going to be is maybe a rotation option.
I think goes into first team. I think he's earned that the way he's played. I think he's going to be. I think he'll be playing in the first team like for the next few weeks. Even when Bentancur's fit, I still see him battling for that spot, and we'll just have to wait and see what kind of Bentancur comes in. But I think he's a first team player, in my opinion. 2
levels above Ollie Skip.
Yep. Yeah.
And a level above Højbjerg. I mean, yeah.
I think he is a level above Højbjerg at the moment. Not in terms of how good of a player he is. I just think the availability, the options.
All right.
I think he's trusted more.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. Pape Matar Sarr goes into first team. Next up is Pedro Porro, probably first team as well.
I would say first team. I don't think he's a key player because I think Emerson's a good backup, and yeah, I think he's first team. If he got injured, I would be a bit annoyed, but Emerson coming in, I'm not too worried about it. Great start to the season for him, but I wouldn't say he's a player we can't do without.
Yeah. And last but not least, we have got Destiny Udogie. I mean, key player for me straight off the bat.
100%. We need him. Crucial. If he was to pick up an injury and all of a sudden Davis is playing every game, I'd be a bit worried. So I think Udogie is vital. So has to be a key player.
All right. Well, let's run through these tiers with you guys. So let's start off with not needed. You've got three goalkeepers we've got in not needed. Hugo Lloris, Alfie Whiteman, Brandon Austin. We've also got Eric Dyer and Ryan Sessegnon on there as well. You do imagine by this time next year, these guys will not be at the football club, all of them. I mean, backup, you've got Fraser Forster, Brian Hill, Ben Davis, Ollie Skip, Alejo Veliz, Ashley Phillips, and Giovanni Lo Celso. In rotation, you've got Perisic, Manor, Emerson, Brennan Johnson, and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. In first team, you've got Bentancur, Richarlison, Kulusevski, Pape Matar Sarr, and Pedro Porro. And as key players, you've got Vicario, Bissouma, Van de Ven, Romero, Maddison, Son, Udogie. And you would think, like, if any of those key players get injured, we're in trouble.
Yeah, that's 7 of them. So literally 7 players that we're all crossing our fingers and our toes to make sure that...
Yeah, I would say some more than others, though, but...
I would say, for me, Yeah, I guess. Look, if Vicario gets injured, that would maybe be not the complete end of the world. But all the others, in my opinion, it would be a travesty.
Well, there you have it. The squads have been announced today. That's the squad, and that is our tier list of the squad. Let me know in the comment section below. Do you think any of the players should have been in any different tiers? Thank you, everyone, for watching today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.